Nobody tells you things because it would be cruel, but you know it. You are fading away. And the worst part is that you are doing it silently. Not because your body doesn't respond, not because life has been unfair. You're fading because at some point between your 30s and today, you bought a lie disguised as logic. The lie that your moment has already passed. That means every time you look back and say, I used to have more energy, you are really saying now I am no longer enough. And that is a criminal thought, not only because it's false, but because it's dangerous. If you repeat it enough, your mind turns it into truth. Do you know what the worst thing is? It's not what's taking away your opportunities. It's you with every elegant excuse you make to not try, with every poisoned thought telling you that dreaming is for the young, with every resignation you disguise as maturity. Do you want an uncomfortable truth? Most people after 40 have already signed their own sentence. They don't do it with ink, they do it with thoughts. Silent thoughts that nobody hears, but that dictate every decision. I'm not for that anymore, that's for others. At this point, they're short phrases that sound innocent but kill. They kill your drive, your creativity, your hunger, but here's the twist. It's not your age that stops you. It's the programming you have installed. Programming that you have been repeating for years, until it became automatic. The subconscious mind doesn't understand time. It doesn't distinguish between yesterday and tomorrow. It just obeys. If you tell it I can't anymore, it responds understood. If you think I'm too old for this, it doesn't argue, it executes. That's how powerful and dangerous it is. That's why if you don't reprogram that machine, you live the same year 40 times and call it life. But listen carefully. There are people who thrive after 40, who grow, break patterns, who do in 10 years what they didn't do in 30. Do you know what they have in common? Not luck, not context, not privileged genetics. They have something else. A mindset that doesn't surrender to the calendar. They understood that age is not a barrier, it's a springboard. Because at 45, at 50, at 57, you have already seen enough to distinguish an illusion from a real opportunity. You've fallen enough to know how to truly get up. Look at the story of Antonio Ferrer, 48 years old, plumber, fired without notice. One ordinary Monday, he stopped being useful to the company that hired him. For days, he repeated the same phrase, I am old and no one is going to hire me anymore. He repeated it so many times that his body began to respond to that idea. He moved slower, spoke less. His eyes were dull. Until one day, in front of the mirror, he asked himself a brutal question. What if this were a lie? That's when everything changed. It wasn't magic, it wasn't luck. It was reprogramming. He started talking to himself differently, using auto-suggestion as a tool. Every morning he told himself, I have experience, I have solutions, I have value. He didn't feel it at first. It was uncomfortable. It felt false, but he persisted. But he repeated it anyway. And little by little, that new narrative began to replace the old one. He started offering his services, not as just another plumber, but as a leak prevention specialist. He wasn't selling fixes. He was selling peace of mind. He was solving problems. He was anticipating them. And that is vision. Today, Antonio has a team of 5 people. He has regular clients. He has income he never imagined. But above all, he has something you can have too, a deprogrammed mind. Because age does not determine your value. Only your narrative does. And here is the breaking point. What separates you from success is not your current situation. It's your self-perception. It's that internal dialogue you repeat every day without questioning. That constant whisper telling you that you tried late, that it's no longer worth it. But what if all that was a poorly told story? What if you were exactly the person the world needs now, not 20 years ago? What if your scars were not a weakness but your mark of authenticity? The problem isn't aging. The problem is allowing age to dictate your behavior. There are young people with old souls who have already given up. And there are adults at 56 who are starting the best chapter of their lives. Which side do you want to be on? Because here's something you don't want to hear but need to understand. No one is going to come save you. No one is going to show up and say, now you can start. Either you do it or you stay paused forever. And if you're waiting for the perfect moment, you already lost, because the perfect moment doesn't exist. What exists is the now, imperfect, uncertain, but real. And if you don't act from here, the next year will be the same as the last. And that's the true hell. Living in a loop decorated with excuses. Be honest. How many times have you looked in the mirror and felt you were made for more? How many times have you felt there's still a spark inside you, but you crush it with phrases like, maybe in another life? Well, let me tell you something. This is your other life. This is the opportunity you were waiting for. You don't see it because you're too busy regretting what wasn't. Your mind is a tool, but it can also be a prison. You decide whether to use it to build or to lock yourself in. Because what you think every day is not innocent. It is shaping your reality, your habits, your decisions, your relationships. Everything is born from that invisible core. That is your belief system. And if that system is rotten, your life will be too. No matter how much you work, how hard you try, or how much you dream, if you don't clean the root, the fruit will remain bitter. And do you know what's the most tragic? Most people realize it when it's already too late. When there's no energy, no time, no motivation, when they've already buried their dreams under tons of routine. But you are still in time, and you know it. You feel it. That discomfort you have now isn't a coincidence. It's your soul asking you to wake up. It's like shouting at you that you still can, that you still must. But this is not solved with pretty phrases.